What's going on, guys? We're here at 3DMJ Down Under with Alberto Nunez and Andrea Valdez, and they've just given their presentations and we've got a couple of questions for them both. So we're going to start with Berto. The evolution of natural bodybuilding, Berto, what do you see to be the primary contributors to this that you discussed in your presentation?
Yeah, the conditioning has changed. That's probably the biggest spurt we took forward. I think if you were to go back 10 years ago, there might be one amateur guy with like striated glutes, and like now it's to the point where if you're not so lean that you have striated glutes, you mess up. There's someone wrong with your prep. Like that is like the standard that like you see a few in the novice class now.
Yeah.
So obviously it's trickled down to the other divisions, the open, the pros. So that's probably where you will see the greatest improvement. So the athletes are about the same size, but they're leaner than ever.
A lot leaner, for sure. And more effective with less effort is something that you've been working on developing over time. How do you go about making an off-season have less contrast to a contest prep?
It's tricky because everyone has their own little things they need to work on. You know, for some people it's like, hey, you know, maybe you should track a bit more in the off season. For other people it's like you need to, you know, get off that some. Yeah. So it really depends. But one thing you did say is like the doing less now and still getting about the same results, I think, or more even in some cases. I think that is super important because that eventually you have to do a little bit more to push further, and that can be like whether like it means like getting stronger, getting more jacked. It's like, hey, let's not like train 6 days a week because a decade from now you might need to do that in order to progress. Same thing with like contest prep. It's like, hey, you know, maybe we shouldn't do cardio every day of the week because you know what, at some point you might need to do that twice a day to get in the proper shape. So conserving energy I think is important, both sides.
Definitely. And when trying to make lean gains in the off season, obviously we need to gain weight, but too much fat can make the off season make the contest prep a hell of a lot harder.
Yes.
So what are the main things that athletes need to consider in the off season to determine how huge they get?
So how long is your off season? So if you're gonna take off like 3 or 4 years, hey, let yourself get a little bit bigger, right? Nothing wrong with that. You're going to lift safer, lift heavier. It's gonna be more productive, be a bit more pliable. But I think come time to prep, you really have to think about where you want to be in regards to that. And I think the more advanced you are, the more positioning matters. So for me, if I'm trying to lose 40 pounds to get into contest shape as an intermediate, I might have been able to keep all my muscle, but now it's to the point where it's like, you know, these adaptations are so close to your ceiling that you don't want to be too far off because you're going to take yourself through the ringer for many months and lose a lot of your hard-earned muscle. So positioning is important, and I think it's important to have a very obvious plan.
Second last question, behavioral modifications at the peak of off-season when we're in a fed state. So obviously that can help set us up for really successful contest prep when we establish those behaviors early, when we're well fed, not starving, all the rest of it. So what are some of the behaviors that you're referring to here?
So a lot of the behaviors like deep into a prep, they're not conducive to anything outside of like being 4 weeks out, right? But a lot of the behaviors that potentially can make you just a tighter bodybuilder in the off season, make the prep less stressful once it starts because you kind of already do this. Those are things that you work on like when you're deep into your off season. You know, it's easier for me to push the plate away, you know, 2 years after my last prep as opposed to like 2 months after, right? So best time to modify behavior is when you're like pretty far away from fat loss, and that's one of the reasons that I think people should take the time to, you know, get away from that for a minute.
For sure. And the last question I have for you is gaintaining. It's a tool in the toolbox that can really cut the distance that we run in a contest prep in half and make things a lot more productive. So can you explain what that is and how you apply that in a practical sense?
So I'm all for letting an athlete get a little bit heavier in the off season, but at a certain point you have to start the prep. You want to be in a good position. And what I like to do is have a little setup fat loss phase prior to that. The body's lean enough at this point we can look at it and we're like, dude, your calves and your arms, let's give that one more try. We try not to gain too much weight, but there's enough food to prioritize around those body parts. And we try to keep weight right around there, and then a lot of those behaviors that are going to be conducive to your prep, like I get my scale back out, I weigh myself every day, I do some cardio, I don't eat out, you know, as often as I do during the peak off seasons. All those behaviors start coming back into play, and you're in a really good position to start your prep in terms of body comp. And then also
headspace.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Berto, thank you. Really enjoyed your presentation. Thank you very much for your time. Over to you, Ms. Valdez.
Hi.
So, psychology of physique is what Andrea presented on.
Yes.
It's a very good presentation.
Oh, thanks.
And cognitive
Dissonance.
that is what I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay.
So, what do you see to be the major disconnects between in bodybuilders?
I think that it is people mistake their want for being wanting to look better versus like I want to be an athlete in the sport of bodybuilding.
Yeah.
It obviously both of them change the way you look, and one is for societal and like sexiness gains, and then one's actually like I love this thing, and I think people for the likes, like Bert says, and I think people, especially females, but people in general, do mistake their love for wanting to look a certain way versus their love for a sport. And I think that the disconnects there within the behaviors, right? If they say they want to look this way, but they're doing dumb shit, or they're not mentally in a place to get that lean, it shows in their behaviors. So that's a big disconnect that I feel like we deal with everyone that's first coming on. Not everyone, but a lot of people haven't committed to the sport. They've committed to wanting to look better.
Yeah, they think it's a diet.
Yeah.
For sure. And redefining bodybuilding. I really enjoyed your take on defining bodybuilding. So share with the guys what that is.
Basically, I feel like most of my job as a bodybuilding coach is coaching someone for a little while into helping them deal with this crazy ideal of their new normal that's going to be very non-conducive to actual normal life. And then you have to get crazy, and I'm going to help you do that, and it gets intense, and then I'm going to ask you as soon as that's done to get out of it. So there's a mentally healthy, fully functioning, happy, full of energy adult. I'm going to pull that away from you. You're going to have this weird now messed up standard of what normal is, and then I have to get you out of it. And getting out, I feel like, is arguably 10 times harder than getting in. So.
Sure. No, I really enjoyed that definition. It was a different take on bodybuilding per se than what most people typically think of it as. And a contest prep obviously isn't healthy. It's an extreme sport.
Correct.
What are some of the issues that bodybuilding causes from a psychological standpoint?
Messed up body image. The things we went over on the slide would be like your body image is very skewed. It's not a positive one. It is very negative. It's never good enough. You can't. You have to be better than normal. All that stuff. And then your relationship with food. There's a difference between seeing a lot of performance athletes see food as fuel still, but we almost have to dissociate our anything with it. It's now like there's a fear associated with it a lot of times. So it can mess up pretty much anything related to mental health, because there's obviously some biological changes too that make your personality different. So now the way you are with everybody is affected. So it means a lot.
For sure. And what are the things that bodybuilding ruins outside of our psychology as a result of getting into the sport?
Yeah, so usually relationships is one of the first things it ruins. Social life. That's pretty much it. I think it's mostly mental, I would think. You can damage your metabolism, but that's way harder than most people think. It's generally because their relationship with food is jacked up, not usually, or their decision making is jacked up. It's not actually that they've ruined their body. But I would argue that most of it is psychological.
Yeah, for sure. So why is bodybuilding so hard in today's society?
I think because appearance is everything, and social media is very photocentric, and so everyone is more connected than ever. Everyone, there's a very quick route from me to everyone in the world. It's like a second, and I could talk to anyone I want. It is Instagram, yes. So I think you're exposed to so much good and bad, right? And you can project anything you want in the world. So there's like all this freedom, which could be good because you can learn a lot, but most of the time businesses know just how effective it is too. And so a lot of times you're being marketed, like Berto just said, you weren't here, but he was saying, I can fix you? What was that?
Oh yeah, the fitness industry plays off like you're ugly, but we can fix you. That's their motto. And Instagram fits perfectly.
Yeah, so it gives good people creating great content this great way to get it out, but it also, again, businesses it's money. So and people's lack of understanding of that, like we talked about, media literacy. Like, do you really know what you're looking at? Do you know what went into that photograph? My boyfriend's a photographer. I know that they can go like 30 hours into one great picture, you know? Not that they all do that, but the general population, I think, is very bad at deciphering good versus bad information, or I would say true versus fake, or information versus marketing, good marketing. You know, they're good at it, and so if you don't take the time to understand what they're doing, you can get lost.
For sure.
Yeah.
And what are the tools that athletes and coaches can use to develop a stronger, healthier psychological toolbox?
Well, they can keep track of everything. You can you can really have clearly defined goals. I feel like people mess that up. They say, I want to look better. Well, how better is better?
I want to get stronger.
I want to get stronger. How much stronger is that? When is it enough? Is it an appropriate rate? Are you doing it in a healthy fashion, or the healthiest as you can? So having very clear guidelines, like Eric mentioned, his talk constraints are very good. Keeping track of it via journaling or a therapist or a coach. Being able to recognize when you actually want to do something versus when you're trying to impress society.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, there's a lot of tools, but you have to find what works for you. And I guess you can't do that without, again, tracking somewhere. And I think, in the talk I mentioned a lot, I think a private journal that you're not scared anyone else is going to see, because I track my training on Instagram, but my deepest, darkest thoughts aren't on Instagram. They're somewhere that I can refer to, that I know what's actually going on in my head. So I can help myself and help other people help me.
And my final question.
Okay.
Can bodybuilders be normal?
Not all the time. I think if you're getting that lean, you're not going to be normal, and you can't be. But you can spend a lot of your time normal. But there is when you're getting into excessive levels of leanness in that unhealthy state, you can't get there without being abnormal, a little jacked up.
Yeah.
But that's why we like it, right? I guess.
Awesome. Thank you very much, AV.
Yeah.
Awesome presentation. Thank you for being on, guys. Hope you liked that video, everyone. If you did, make sure you like the video, and we'll speak to you all next time. Over and out.
Over and out.